learning improvisation is not about learning scales and just applying scales to chords. Hi, today I want to talk about a topic that's really popular online nowadays for musicians, and the topic is how to improvise. Now, there are millions of videos on improvisation that you can find just on YouTube. Now, most of these videos address improvisation from the standpoint of just learning scales, learning harmony, and then applying that. And that is one approach. That is the standard approach that people learn. You learn the theory first, and then you apply it. Today, I'm going to teach you a concept that most people don't talk about, and I would say it's the second most important thing when improvising. The number one thing when you improvise is to always know and understand the melody. However, we're going to go beyond that today. I'm going to talk about rhythm. Controlling and mastering rhythmic technique is the most important thing when you improvise. I'm going to say that again. Controlling and mastering rhythmic technique is the most important thing when you improvise. Okay, so let me do a little demonstration here on this track. It's a simple track, about 90 beats per minute, 92 beats per minute. It's a backing track that I found yesterday that I happen to like, and I'm just going to improvise over it, and I'm going to show you of an example of just applying a simple scale, see how that sounds, and then applying rhythmic variations, rhythmic motifs, and see how that sounds. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so here's the track. I'm just going to roll it, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play a scale over it. All right, this is a backing track in D minor, so what would fit? Okay, a D minor scale. D minor Dorian would fit great. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. It's basically the C major scale, but starting on D instead. So D minor Dorian is a mode of the C major scale, and it's a very popular mode. You don't have to know the modes to improvise. It helps for theory. It helps for talking to other musicians, to explain things, but you don't need to know this to improvise. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so you might think, okay, that sounds okay. Yeah, it sounds okay. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound particularly bad, but it doesn't sound good. We can try to make it sound cooler and stay with the scale, but we'll vary the rhythmic approach to it. We'll play it with more feeling, as they say. And when I say feeling, I'm not talking about emotional feeling. I'm talking about rhythmic feeling. Okay, so next I'm going to add some embellishments or ornaments to the scale. So I'm going to play maybe neighboring notes, maybe do some turnarounds, some gruppettos inside the scale. So we're going to stick with the same notes, but I'm just going to add some neighboring notes as we go along. Okay, so this time I'm going to play just one note, not a scale, and I'm going to try to vary that note rhythmically over several bars. All I'm just going to be playing is one note and maybe the octave. So it's the same note, it's two notes, but it's the same note, it's just an octave up or down. I may do that, but I'm just going to stay on one note, and I'm just going to vary it rhythmically in as many different ways that I feel or think sound cool. Now, when I say feeling here, I'm not talking about an emotional feeling. When I say feeling here, I'm talking about a rhythmic feel. I'm not talking about an emotional feel like sad or excited or happy. I'm talking about a feeling of, wow, this sounds cool, groovy. It fits rhythmically. That's a rhythmic feel as opposed to an emotional feel. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so that time I just played one note. It happened to be the note of A, which is a fourth or a perfect fourth, 4 intervals down from the root note of D. Okay, so yeah, I don't know how that sounded. I won't know how that sounded on the recording until I actually listen to the recording. But it felt pretty good. It felt kind of cool. I was kind of feeling it. I wasn't completely into it. I was kind of thinking there too much. You want to find a balance when you're doing this, when you're improvising. If you think about feel too much and you're focusing on that, sometimes you overcompensate and you play too fast, or you play too far behind the beat. If you think about it too much, sometimes you're too much on top of the beat and you sound stiff. The beat, especially if they're a good drummer, a good bass player, or if they're locked into a click track or a rhythm track, the beat is going to be consistent. So you have room to play off the beat or in front of the beat. You have room to vary that. So I'm going to keep this video short. Hopefully this will give you one good idea about improvisation. Okay, so I'm going to keep this video short today. I'll add to this series as we go along. I just wanted to give you an insight to let you know that learning improvisation is not about learning scales and just applying scales to chords. Now, I wish when I learned improvisation when I was at 16 years old, I wish I had learned this concept about a rhythmic approach rather than a scalar approach, because you are going to be learning scales. You may, if you've been playing any instrument, if you've been playing flute for a few years, you know most of the scales. If you're a university student or an advanced high school student, or take private lessons or have been taking private lessons, you know most of the scales already. You've memorized many, if not most of the scales. Now, you probably have figured out by now, just by knowing these scales and by knowing what scales work with different chords, that doesn't make you a great improviser. You can still sound really, really stiff. You can sound out of it. You can have the greatest technical skill in the world and know all the theory and all the scales and apply that to improvisation, yet still be terrible at improvisation. So again, improvisation is not about learning the scales and applying which scales fit with different chords. It helps, but it doesn't make you a good improviser. Think about rhythmic motifs, rhythmic concepts, and rhythmic ideas, and rhythmic control. Rhythmic control is the most important thing when improvising. So I'm going to leave you with that today. Think about it and use that in your approach. I hope that this gives you some ideas about improvising and that it helps improve your improvising.